I did a site assessment on a property about a year ago, and this fellow had a problem with his attic. And so I told him, you got to change out your soffit to 100% perforated, install baffles between each truss, and install a ridge vent, and that you have an 1.5 inch cut below the ridge vent so that you have 18 square inches per linear foot, and to purchase a high profile ridge vent rather than a low profile. The reason the difference is that a high profile would give you 3/4 of an inch off the shingle on each side, so 3/4 and 3/4 gives you the 1.5 inch for the exhaust. The low profile cuts that down to about 1/4 of an inch between the shingle and the bottom of the ridge vent, and so that'll only give you half. So you're cutting your exhaust by 2/3. That doesn't work. So he calls and he says he has his perforate. He calls and says, "I still have a problem. My insulation is sopping wet. My wood of my roof is sopping wet, and I have no ventilation." And I went, "That's that goes against all industry practice, just what everyone does." I said, "So go through it with me again as to, did you do what I suggested?" And so he goes through it, and he has the soffits are open. He doesn't even have soffits, perforated soffit on the soffits. You can go to the edge and look down and see the grass. And so I said, "Well, tell me about your ridge vent." And he said, "Well, I've got between 3/4 and an inch cut." Not enough. And he bought a low profile because it was cheaper. And I went, that you just got to do both correctly. You need that 18 square inches per linear foot. Point is, when you receive phone calls like this, and after you give recommendations on changes to be made, and they call back and they say something's wrong, they did something wrong, because the recommendations that were provided to him was just standard industry. There was nothing special about it at all. So don't, if you take someone's advice and you do what's told and something is still wrong, assume that you did something wrong.